Thursday, February 18th, and this is the meeting of the Board of Education Building Committee. We have one item on the agenda, and that is the pre-K through 8 site selection study. And I'm going to call on Bruce.
Just a point of order, Madam Chair. How long can the individual board members speak on the topic? Robert's Rules of Order, you said it.
Robert's Rules allows you 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Last time it was 15.
No, John.
No? Oh, I'm sorry. It went from 5 to 10. So 10.
10 minutes by Robert's Rules of Order, and at this point, we're burning time that we don't have, because we have to be out there at 16. At 6.
By Robert's Rules of Order, which takes care of any other motion.
Commissioner Theriault, I gave the floor to our presenter. Please be courteous and allow him to start, please.
With all due respect, in order to limit the conversation, there must be a motion seconded and voted on. That hasn't been done.
The presenter has the floor.
I'm
Go
done.
ahead, Bruce, please.
Okay, so give everyone a refresher on the last time the building committee met. The subject of potential school sites was discussed, and we brought out the Silver Petroselli presentation from a few years back, whereby they suggested up to 4 school sites for an East End elementary school. Committee discussed those sites along with some of the sites not previously recommended by Silver Petroselli. Just to take a step a little bit further back and then I'll move forward. Silver Petroselli's task was to evaluate as many sites as possible. There were some 25 to 27 sites originally investigated. They recommended 4. The committee went back and looked at one of the 27 sites for consideration for the new East End Elementary School. It was one of the 4 preferred sites, and you'll see shortly why Silver Petroselli did recommend it, and I think you'll agree. So we concluded at the last building committee meeting with the building committee selecting 4 sites: Plank Road, the Perone Avenue site, Pine Grove Cemetery on Meriden Road, and the Welton neighborhood, Welton Laurel and William Street, East Main Street block. At that meeting, 2 things occurred. You wanted to know whether or not a 2-class per grade or 3-class per grade school could be built on the various preferred sites. And we also offered up the evaluation sheet on each of those 4 sites that Silver Petroselli put together evaluating the original 27 sites. So in your possession tonight, you have 2 handouts from me, and I'll get into the handouts shortly on from Gary. But the handouts from me, the 1-pager is a summary of a meeting that I had with Malone and McBroom and the SLAM Collaborative on being able to evaluating the 4 preferred sites for 2-class per grade school, elementary school, or a 3-class per grade school. And we'll walk through that in a second. The other is the evaluation sheets from Silver Petroselli's initial report excuse me, on the 4 sites, and that just kind of gives you an idea as to what they saw on the 4 sites, your 4 preferred sites, in terms of topography, utilities, acquisition, relocation, suitability for a school. The other handouts that you also received that Gary will talk about is the distribution of students in the East End and what schools they currently attend. And you'll get a feel for the various elementary and middle school districts from the maps and the charts that Gary and Will work on. So I'm going to now bring you back to the evaluation that Malone and McBroom and Slam did for the 2-class and 3-class per grade schools. So we met at Malone and McBroom's office. Mike Zuba and from Malone and McBroom and Kemp Morehart from the Slam Collaborative, two individuals that were very much involved with the facility study that was performed by Malone and McBroom. Sat with me along with Dave Dixon. Dave Dixon is a site planner or a site engineer for Malone and McBroom, and he's worked with us on several other projects here in the city. One specifically was Duggan School. We sat, we pulled up the GIS information, the city's GIS information on the respective sites, looked at the Silver Petrocelli sites, and they gave a real cursory review and analysis of each of the 4 preferred sites. And what you have in front of you tonight is their in literally one sentence for each of the properties, whether or not a 3-class or 2-class per grade school could be situated on the respective sites. They did not study in depth topography, wetlands, utilities, none of that. They literally took the footprint of a Silver Petrocelli building that they had laid out on the various sites when Silver did their study and positioned it and did that cursory evaluation. So as we walk down through the various sites, Plank Road, which is part of the existing Hamilton Park area, the site may be able to support a 3-class per grade facility, 3 stories. The topography, not that they studied it in depth, but the topography and the shape of the area that would be considered useful for the school kind of dictated that a 2-class per grade school, not a problem. A 3-class per grade school, definitely getting into the 3-story range. As we move on to Perone Avenue, as it stated there, much more conducive to a 3-class per grade school. The area, if you recall the Perone Avenue site, it's about 17 acres, approximately 8 to 10 of it was what was considered to be a school site a year ago. As they investigated that, they thought that Silver Petrocelli's plan to bring a road in from National Avenue and out Upper Perone made a lot of sense, and they thought that that road bounded a substantial area to be able to put in a 3-class per grade school and still be able to provide a substantial amount of parking. The program for a 2-class per grade school that we've moved to is a minimum 100 cars. A 3-class per grade school is going to need at least 120 or more. And their analysis of the site between parking, roads, the school being a 2-story 3-class per grade school and still having enough play field, they liked the site. They felt comfortable with that site and being able to, if an architect and a land developer, planner, engineer, site civil engineer were to develop something on that site, that it was very doable. Pine Grove Cemetery. I had them look at both parcels. The parcel that was in Silver Petrocelli's study was the eastern most portion of the cemetery, right away through the city's GIS, literally right, the parcel is long and narrow. Literally right down the middle of the parcel is wetlands. So anything buildable up there would have been on a very narrow sliver, either adjacent to the cemetery or furthest along the furthest eastern edge, just not conducive at all to a school whatsoever.
And none of those wetlands could be abated through the Army Corps?
That is not something we consider on any of the projects. I think trying to work through the local environmental group, it would be rather difficult. As a for instance, over at Kennedy, they ran into, when the Kennedy addition was being investigated by the architect and the various civil engineers, they found a small area of wetlands at the base of the slope, just outside the football field. It was probably not much bigger than a couple of tables, and that developed into a wetlands, recreated wetlands that was 3-4 times that size.
You don't have to go any further. I get you. Thanks.
Okay. In the past, there's been a question as to the northern and northwestern portion of the cemetery property along Meriden Road. And so I asked them to evaluate that, and they basically concluded, as it had been said in the past, wetlands and a lot of rock and topography would just not conducive to building a school or proposing a school on that site. So the Pine Grove Cemetery, just nothing at all. It would be their recommendation. The Welton Street, Laurel, Williams, and East Main Street block, basically the internal properties to those 4 streets. Nothing on the outer, or on the perimeter, the properties on the perimeter of those 4 streets. And they felt very comfortable that a 2-class per grade facility could be supported in that block. A little more property was purchased, possibly a 3-story or 3-class per grade school, but to stay within that block, you'd be able to put a 2-class per grade school without too much problem. Hamilton Avenue, again, they went back and looked at Hamilton Avenue. I know it's not one of the 4 preferred sites, but they did look at it, and based on its sheer undeveloped acreage, no problem putting a 3-class per grade school there. Obviously, it wasn't a preferred site because it doesn't fit the neighborhood component that you're trying to fit moving forward. And then the last school that was site that was looked at, because it's the existing elementary school and it's proposed to be a project for renovation as new/addition, is the Wendell Cross Elementary School, and that site would definitely support a 2-class per grade school. Anything larger than that would be much more difficult to do because of the buildable land and the topography. The school currently is situated on the very top of that topography, and everything literally drops off from there. So they felt comfortable with 2-class per grade school. That.
And concerning Wendell Cross, is that building a 2nd floor?
That would be a 2-story,
So
basically a 2-story.
Okay.
Might be stepped down into the topography, but
Gotcha. Okay.
but it would definitely be 2-story. Okay. And that's pretty much it. Any questions regarding Malone and McBroom's and SLAM study? Obviously, as you work your way closer and closer to selecting some sites to bring forth to a community meeting, at some point in time, I can probably sit down again with Malone and McBroom and have them do some more finite study that'll benefit the development of the project budgets in terms of rock and topography and types of roads and retaining walls and so on and so forth. So more information we can establish now, the better the budget can be. The happier you'll be when we move forward for a grant application.
Questions for Bruce?
Yeah, just a quick one on the Silver Petrucci Petrocelli analysis. Without knowing the Goss family's input on the Plank Road, is it a fair score to be showing 221? Isn't that a really potential negative variable there that unless we have a positive answer, it's sort of still really unknown?
I don't believe that that was supposed to be part of their grading process. It was, take that out of the equation.
It's just a mental note then? Okay.
Anyone else?
Not really a question, more of a comment. Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, thanks for your work with this, guys. I think it's important to understand that although a lot of us know these sites pretty well over the past few years, talking about them year after year after year, I'm glad we were able to get some new eyes on there and try to envision them with the third classroom group rigs. I think, as I said a number of times, is the way to go. I think my personal opinion, I'm entertaining the argument, but I think with the information we have now, there's kind of two sites that if this board is looking to move forward with new school, that this committee and the board itself should concentrate on. I think Pine Grove simply doesn't have the area. I personally disagree with my colleague, Commissioner Stengel, that Welcome Street is the East End and really does anything for the East End population, although the idea of bringing part of the neighborhood back, I see merit in that. I don't necessarily think that's our job as education to do that. And I think having a school behind Wendell Cross just doesn't make any sense. Which leaves us the Plank Road site, which I have issues with because of the Goss gift to us. If that can be rectified, I think that is my favorite option. And the second one being the Broad Avenue site. So it will be my recommendation to this committee, if we're interested in we now going forward, focus on those two if this board is interested in building a new school.
I do have people in here sort of over the numbers and populations, where those schools, where they probably from. So we can, unless anybody else has any questions for Bruce, I'd like to move to that, and at least so we get to deal with populations as well. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. In front of you guys, I've presented you guys with the map of carving out 3 neighborhoods. The task is carving out 3 neighborhoods for the proposed sites. The blue is the Walton area, William Street, regular Wall School. The red would be the Hamilton Avenue site, and the purple would be the Perone site. Very difficult to carve out a true neighborhood school like we've done in the past, where it's that Walton area where we really won't require any much more busing. We would have to require some busing just because of the streets, the cross streets, and how far apart some of these kids will be coming from to get to the new school. And I try to kind of, when I carve out the neighborhood, try to reduce numbers at Chase, but not take all the kids out of Chase. So it was tough trying to figure out how to get a good balance in creating these school districts for both sites. So that's what you have pretty much in front of you. And you can see by the table that shows where the kids are coming from, how pretty much any neighborhood in Waterbury, kids are being bused from any particular area to 4, 5, 6, 7 schools. As you can see here, if you look at that, for example, let's look at the Plank Road. You got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 schools that are being fed from that neighborhood. So by creating another new school there, we would have probably eliminated a lot of the busing issues of those kids going out. And the numbers, just want to make one point on the numbers for 400, that's great up to grade 6, 7, and 8. Back grade, you'll open up with grade 6, and then 7 and 8 would be future population grade. So those numbers don't account for 7 or 8th grade. That's just a note I want to throw it out there. So Plank Road would have the most impact on Chase and Generali. I think are your 2 biggest numbers. Hopeville kids would be coming over from there, and we would also pull some kids out of Gilmartin, but very few. I think that's 6. So it's Wendell Cross, Generali, Holtville, and Chase are the majority of the kids are coming from. And then on the Brown Avenue, it's pretty much 220 kids out of Chase and about 100 kids out of the Generali School District. Yes, sir.
Why doesn't Welton get people out of Bunker Hill and Plank Road does? Seems like Welton is closer to the distance, you know, as a crow flies.
If you look at the bigger color one I gave you,
Yeah.
that's a piece of the GIS map that you can actually get on the city
This one here?
website.
Yeah, and that
That
shows
you the current districting.
So these are densities that you're taking from?
No, those are current districts. So if you live, for example, if you live in, you know, let's look for example in the light green shaded area.
Yeah.
That beats Tinker. So if you live on North Elm Street behind the police station, you're going to Tinker. You know, so there's a lot of carved out little neighborhoods
Okay, I
for racial
got you.
balancing that happened many, many years ago. So
So I shouldn't apply any engineering logic to this?
no, not at all, no. So it's very difficult, and because of the overflow issues and class size issues, kids are bused. We have some kids from No Child Left Behind that are bused to special situations. You know, we discussed with the doctor the other day. You know, a lot of that would hopefully be cleaned up, and we would have a true neighborhood school, but not all walking like we've had in the past. So, but, you know, so you pretty much, if you're looking at the map, is trying to identify where we can carve out a neighborhood without, you know, making sure that we still have enough people to feed a Generali, enough kids to feed the Chase school, and also sustain, you know, population for the new school, proposed new school. So that's pretty much it there. And that was the logic. Just started off with Brown Avenue and try to work my way around without directly impacting Chase too much, and try to carve out the neighborhood and try to get to the, Chase kids without, per se, limited seeing Chase out of your back door and then have to go to Brown Avenue. So it's a difficult balance trying to figure out where that line should end and start. So that's pretty much it on the map. So I mean, if we have any questions about the mapping or the logic behind it, more than one going to through for you.
Any questions for Will?
One question. The figure projections do not include preschool, do they? No.
I was just going to comment on that. One of the things we're actively talking about right now, while all this is also going on, is we're looking at school readiness population. The fact that we bus quite a number of children out of the East End, where we do have school readiness spots. So the advantage of creating pre-K space, early childhood space in the East End will save us. Right now, we're busing children. We're not really obligated to transport, but we have no other choice because the place we have for them is not within walking distance or even public transit distance without a lot of the bus trips. So we would gain a lot by do this from early childhood, creating that whole continuum from birth to 3 up through whatever continuum we build in to that school.
Pre-K is really only 9 centers, so it's a first come, first served. So as the students come in, so you don't live in a neighborhood, you're not guaranteed a spot for pre-K. That's handled through the pre-K office registration and assignment. Okay, so
Except
that's
for
why.
our special ed pre-K.
Correct, right up at Buck.
That's
So
correct.
correct, right.
And that's a grave concern. That those portables are grave concern.
I agree.
So, well, based on these numbers, what I'm seeing at Welton Street, we don't get that draw from Chase and Generali. I'm seeing 45.
No, Walton Street, it's going to be very tough. We put a school there, what are we going to do with Walsh? I mean, I'm taking 130 kids out of Walsh that I already had only 260 kids in it now. So, I mean, you know, it'd be a school population of 130. You know, that wouldn't be a neighborhood school. I don't know, you know, I mean, if we're going to put a site there, you're going to have to bus everybody in or figure out a different solution for that school, you know, for that site, you know, because we don't want to impact Walsh that greatly.
Right, but we have heavy impact at Brown Avenue. I'm looking at some over Plank Road even. I'm looking at some 40, 60.
Brown Avenue.
60. I see almost 100 more kids out of Chase and Generali with the Brown Avenue site than
Correct.
the Plank Road side?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
So you're much
Based
bigger
on today's
draw
enrollment.
drawdown for Chase and Generali is actually that Perone Avenue site.
That would be the ideal location if we're going to want to reduce the impact on a Generali and a Chase, right? No, that's the, and create still a neighborhood school.
With today's snapshot.
Correct, right. Our kids move, our mobility numbers are high, so. One of the things we were talking about with Commissioner Sweeney earlier was that when we build the school up, all of a sudden, everybody starts moving to that area of town. So we've seen that we put a numbers forward with some of the other schools, as we start designing and planning for these schools, and numbers go up, and then we have to kind of carve the neighborhood and tighten it up a little bit, or, something, or expand it, depending on how much housing is available.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so.
Commissioner Theriault?
Yeah, was the Perone Avenue site, was that the one that the parents got together and were going to give a referendum? Very possible that they might do that again, go to referendum. I don't want to see you spinning your wheels if you're going to pick a site and you're going to go forward. That's my one word of caution there. I think the whole objective is to diminish the population somehow of Chase and Generali. And I hate to be redundant, but I would just remind the board that the actual increase in Chase and Generali is only 80 students in 11 years. I'm sorry, 60. That being said, I'll go on to another area that I don't think Bruce has really examined too much. And that is an area that I go by all the time. And it's for many of you that live in Waterbury and have had your cars nearly demolished on this road before it was paved. It's called 40 Bumps. It's really East Mountain Road. It used to be called 40 Bumps because it was appropriately named. But as the crow flies, it's about a 3-minute bus ride from Wendell Cross down to 40 Bumps. And there's a huge area of woods in that area. And there's a quarry down there. It seems to be closer to the south end, but really as the crow flies, when you get on a bus, it's a 3-minute ride. So I wonder if that area could be explored. Do you know where I'm talking about, Bruce?
No, not at all.
Do you know where East Mountain Reservoir is?
That golf course.
Golf course?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you go down that road, there's a continuation of that road that goes down towards South Main. It's called East Mountain Road. And as you get down to the bottom of it, there's kind of a quarry, a land pit that is used for gravel.
Pearl Lake Road.
Down by Pearl Lake Road.
Road.
Yeah, it's between Pearl Lake Road
Pearl Lake Road
and the top of the mountain. I've never heard anybody explore the possibility of that. I'm not placing this on the agenda because I'm in favor of a school or a site for that school. I'm just asking you to look. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So, looking at our timeline, we really should have a public meeting that last week of February is the first week of March, 29th to the 1st, that week there. So I would entertain, I know Commissioner Van Stone has already, in his opinion, whittled it down to 2 sites. What sites would you like to present to the public, because we really need to get that public hearing done?
Well, if I may reiterate my point, I think Will's numbers backed up what I said in the first place. But I think those are the 2 sites that if we're going to do this, I think they make the most sense on paper. And if we want to present those 2 sites to the public and let them, we can hear their opinions about those 2 sites, I think that makes sense.
Anyone else?
I guess I absolutely agree, but I would like to, I know Hamilton Avenue is not walking a neighborhood school, it is close to Wendell Cross, but I think there's, I'd like to keep it in the mix, only because of, as Commissioner Theriault said, we've already had a lot of opposition to Plank Road and Perone Avenue. So just as another option there, I mean, there's space there, we could do the 3 classroom per grade. I don't know, I think it behooves us to at least keep that option open, so the public can have a weigh in on it, since we have, it was part of the original study, but just a thought.
I'm sorry.
No, that's-
That- Commissioners.
Thank you. As far as the Welton Street site is concerned, I understand what Commissioner Vanstone said, that it's not the job of the board of the job. The job of the board is to build a school and not clean up a neighborhood. But I always consider it a twofer. If we can get that property cleaned up, I think it's just an outstanding thing. And as our Bruce was talking about, it's a little bit limited in size. The next street up is not a heck of a lot better. So I think we can still push back if we had to. And the other point about it's not going to be a neighborhood walking school, totally understand that. But if all our other sites fail, we may have to go to a new school that's going to be bused. The kids will be bused to it. If the Verona Avenue site fails, and the Hamilton Avenue, and the Hamilton Park site fails, then we need to just keep that option there, just in case. But I agree with Commissioner Vanstone and a few others that we move those two forward, the two that were mentioned, the Hamilton Park and the Verona, for a public hearing.
Any other comment? For myself, I honestly, the focus here was to draw down the population and chase the generality and give the East End a school, a walking school, a neighborhood school. And I don't see the Hamilton Avenue site doing that. It's on the edge of the East End. It just doesn't do it. So in keeping with the aim of what we were trying to do, I would agree that Plank Road and Verona would be the ones to explore.
So what action?
So would you like to take a vote on the sites that you would like to keep? Or are we in agreement that these are the two at this point in time that we would like to put forward for public comment? What do you think?
Because I would then make a motion to have this school building committee focus on the Plank Road site and the Front Avenue site as its two preferred options for a potential East End school for the purposes of having a dialogue with the public and the board.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Jason Vanstone?
Yes.
Commissioner Stango?
Yes?
Commissioner Pagano?
Yes.
Ariel?
Ariel?
No.
Commissioner Sweeney, yes. So I have 4 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes. So Bruce, do you set the public hearing, or do we have central office do that?
We'll work with central office,
Okay. So
Gary and Margaret.
Okay, so we'll be looking at that on the 29th of that we did, correct?
Just a point of clarification from the chair. In the event that another referendum were presented for signatures and got on the ballot, how far are we going to commit ourselves prior to that referendum being accepted or defeated?
The referendum would not come forward until the Board of Aldermen vote to do the bonding. That would be at the point where someone would come forward for a referendum.
So could the referendum be achieved prior to it being presented to the Board of Aldermen for bond? So that's one way to get rid of those troublesome people that want a referendum, right? Just do it quick and easy. Gotcha.
If I may, I think long before that happens, aren't we also against a timetable, get proper paperwork in that has to designate a site
Correct.
So let's take one step at a time, please. We should worry about a referendum like we did last time when it happens.
Thank you, Tom.
Right now, it's a point that we need to get this paperwork started. That must have a site designated, if I remember correctly.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One other question. When we start talking
People
about
have a referendum.
the bedtime,
Yep. When do we have to start talking about Wendell Cross? We have both projects.
We have, right now, you talked about 2 projects moving forward with your projects. When the process of renovation as new/extension, become a K through 8, and then a new elementary school of a specific number of
right.
classrooms.
Since that discussion, though, we haven't talked about Wendell Cross at all. I was wondering when that comes back.
After we go through the community meetings and you make a site selection, we'll start developing the actual budgets for Wendell Cross together with the projects.
I just didn't want that to fall off the
No,
radar.
we're going to move those together at the same time.
Okay.